What do you prioritize more? People liking you or your life's purpose? If you knew you could have everything you wanted if you just believed, would you take the first step or wait another 10 years? Here on the SDR&R podcast, we tackle everything holding us back.
Success is my only motherfucking option. Failure's not.
Success is my only motherfucking option. Thank you, Eminem. I'm sure you all know what that song is and what it's from, but that's what we're talking about this week. So welcome to the Success, Decisions, and Rock and Roll podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Sparks, and welcome to our new studio. For those of you YouTube fans, you can see that we've got a brand new studio that's a little cooler than the last, I'd like to think. So this week's topic is going to be what to do in crisis mode. I was thinking earlier that perhaps I haven't been digging deep enough in my own thinking and sort of topics for this podcast. It's easy to focus a lot on the success that we have, after the fact, rather than the challenges that we have along the way towards that success. And we certainly will have and have had challenges, all of us, on our path. So this week, we're going to jump into what that's like and some little pointers that I have come across and all of my business owner clients have also come across and taught me about. So the human mind and the human, emotional body, your anxiety levels, your hormone levels, even your body fat, the way that you digest your food, all of these things, there's sort of a rhythm to them, okay? And when chaos comes across your world, you're gonna freak out, probably, at least the first few go-arounds. You will hit terror barriers, like we talked about. I think it was like episode 5 or so. But if you haven't listened to that one, go back, because it's very good and important that you understand that. Because when it happens, when you hit your own terror barrier, you don't want that to actually stop you and prevent you from achieving your dreams. And that's a big part of it, So I just want to normalize that. That's a normal thing for everybody to have a freak out moment here and there on the path to your success. So when you hit chaos, when something happens that freaks you the fuck out, what do you do? I can tell you what you will probably want to do. What I want to do when I hit chaos, when I hit real struggle, is go away and hide. Most of us, I think, are the isolationist types, like we will isolate ourselves in response to something that scares us and freaks us out. I certainly am one of those, but there are other people who are more, fusers, right? And this is kind of paraphrasing some modern psychology stuff, but if you're a fuser, then you're going to want to run towards other people and try to connect with them, because you find stability and safety in connections with other people. So both of those habits and responses to things don't really work long term. They certainly don't solve the problem. They can be nice, but they're sort of, one of them isn't better than the other. It's just kind of is. So regardless of what your initial response might be or how you might want to treat this chaotic event in your life or in your business, that's probably not the right way to respond. If you have chaos in your life, that means that your day is just batshit crazy. Nothing is predictable. Everything is unknown. Things are volatile. Things might blow up. You might have fundamental changes to the structure of your normal day or your normal relationships. And that's all very scary, for good reason. You're afraid of it because you can't control it. You're afraid of it because it's unknown. You don't know. You're in the dark about it. You're afraid of it because it's unpredictable. You don't know what the outcome of it is. And I think most of us have the ability to kind of shut down and stop looking forward. So the more afraid we get, the less we can see, the less into the future we can sort of envision and understand and look towards. So that, when you're really in fear, there's just a tiny pinhole of light at the end of the tunnel. But if you're not in fear, there is no tunnel, and you can see everything around you in the brightness of day. I think that we exclude so much from ourselves, and we sort of put our mind into a brain fog or a cloudedness so that we can hide. And if it's something we don't understand, then maybe it won't see us. And I know this sounds stupid and crazy, and it kind of is. But this is our reptilian brain, If you look at, all mammals, if they see, a predator that's, that's larger than them and capable of killing them, you have that fight or flight thing. And you also have the freeze thing. So you might just freeze. You might just stay still, try to be invisible. And that's not going to do anything for your company, but that's what we do. So I just want to normalize that. So that kind of explains the world around you when you've hit a terror barrier, or when something has happened on your road to your success that you didn't expect, or that really freaks you out, or you've crossed a line in your brain, that means something really terrible or bad. A lot of people, have this line with regards to money. So maybe their business bank account is normally at, 50 grand balance, right? And then something happens and they owe like 75 grand, so it's gonna put them into the negative in a week, right? So we just freeze, or we run away. Or we try to fight something that doesn't help at all, right? So that's to describe the world around us. And I think if you understand the world around us in this chaotic state, in crisis, then you can understand the reasons that we have for doing these other things, okay? To sort of counteract these effects. So as a successful entrepreneurial person, we want to switch our thinking from being in fear and isolationist, from ignoring the problems and thinking that they're going to go away or somehow magically be solved by something else. Instead of that, we need to put ourselves into a mindful, creative state. Okay, so it's actually the opposite from our reptilian brain's reaction, which is, easier said than done, but it's absolutely doable. And there are ways that you can easily trick your brain into functioning in these ways, without a logical understanding of things necessarily, without a deduction, in a logical reasoning or analysis or anything like that. It's just a fix. It just happens. Okay. And if you get your mind into these states, then your mind will automatically think like a creator and a successful entrepreneur, which is a person that you're more than capable of being, but you might not have trained yourself towards that end, or you might not be used to being that person, your highest self, so to speak, in these situations yet. But that doesn't mean you can't get there. So how do you get there? So what we're looking to do is get our mind into a safe, predictable environment. Okay, so our environment has a large effect on our mindset. Okay, so how do we control and sort of fix our environment? Yes, there are chaotic elements to this new environment that are very scary and whatever, and we don't understand them. But I guarantee that new chaotic element is very small and dinky compared to the elements of your day-to-day life that you do understand. So what are the elements of your day-to-day life that you can control, that you do understand? You can control easily when you go to bed. If you go to bed at the same time every night, within 10 minutes of every night, your body and your mind thereby will become more relaxed and feel more safe. We can put ourselves into a quick sleep. We can get to sleep quickly by simply not watching television, certainly not looking at company emails. Do not look at company emails right before bed, especially the chaotic ones, okay? That's risky, that's dangerous. Don't do that during your nighttime routine. Do it during the day, but not during your nighttime routine. So you can, I like to put myself through about an hour or even 2 hour long sort of cycle when I'm in a crisis state, okay? So I hone everything in, I simplify as much as possible. My routine, if you are interested, is to go up to my bedroom about 2 hours before I intend to lay down. I'll brush my teeth and everything, and then I'll read under low lighting. Not so low that it gives me a headache, but relatively low. I'm certainly not looking at any screens. I turn off all of my notifications. I put the phone in airplane mode, etc. And I mute everything I can. So if I put the dogs in their crates at night or whatever it is, I try to minimize uncertainty. Okay. I read for a while. What I'm reading, importantly, has to be an easy read. This is not going to be a deep philosophical thing that messes with me or has a lot of really intense adventuresome stuff in it, and like a fiction novel. This is like a comfort food type book. Okay, that's easy, simple, relaxing. Okay. Then I will meditate for about 45 minutes, and then I might journal some, and then I go to bed. And it might sound, kind of ridiculously simple, but that's kind of the reasoning behind it, right? That's what allows my brain to turn down, to calm down and chill out and take a breather, Also, similarly, your mornings can all be the same, exactly the same. I like to eat the exact same breakfast at the exact same time or thereabouts, And anything that's going to happen that's different that morning, I try to control it and, have it be predictable, and I might even go through the steps of my morning in my head the night before or even a few days before and say, okay, I'm going to get up at this time. I'm going to take this, kid to school or something. I'm going to walk the dogs, whatever it is. And then throughout my day, especially the work day, because I'm not running away, I am focusing on it, but I'm limiting the time that I focus on these chaotic things. And I just say to myself, almost like a mantra, there will be things that I don't understand, that I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I'm going to be vulnerable to these things, and that's okay. And I'm going to focus on them for this amount of time. So then I make sure that for whatever time period it is, 2 hours, 1 hour at a time, maybe, 5 or 6 hours total, I am fully focused on whatever is going on and available and, ready for it. Okay. But I know that no matter what happens, and I'm telling myself this often, I'm going to be fine. This is going to pass. Okay? And, it might take another month to avert this crisis, it might take another year, it might take another day. I don't know. But I'm going to give it my best shot during a window of time. And for the rest of the day, I'm going to do everything as simply as possible. So that helps a lot. And the reason why it helps is because it gives your brain, your brain is reacting because you're in a state of chaos where you think that most of your world is outside of your control. You think that this new element, this chaotic element that has entered into your world is going to, fuck some shit up that you're not ready to have changed, right? And that might be the case, but it's not nearly as dramatic as your animal brain is making it. In reality, these are very small things. That's really not going to have a major effect on you so long as you can steer your ship, correctly through the storm. We talked about this a little bit in the Terror Barrier episode a few months back, but I went into one of these states some years ago when my business bank account was very low. It was at, I think, like $5,000 as a balance, and I had something like $30,000 coming up in payroll, I think, and like a $20,000 credit card bill that I had to pay in like 2 weeks. So at first, my initial freak out reaction was, oh shit, I only have $5,000 and I need to pay, $55,000, like right now, which all was not true. So I told myself the sort of fear-mongering story that my business bank account was going to go into the negative, like immediately. But that wasn't taking into account all of these things, such as cash flow, So all of these payments were not due immediately. They were due soon, in a week and then another week. But that's a very different thing. And if you're leading, a services company like I am, you can make 20 grand, in a good week. You can even make, 60, 70, 80 grand in a week, right? If you're really, doing a great job. But I didn't realize that, right? All of my animal mind saw was just, I'm dead in the water, And I actually had these ridiculous thoughts. I regressed, I'd done a lot of work on my mindset, but I remember that my mind was regressing, and I actually questioned whether or not I should shut the law firm down and go, work for somebody else, with like a regular 9-to-5 paycheck, which would have been, a rash, dumb decision. But at the time, because most of society sees, working for someone else for some reason as like safer than, running your own business, I thought it was safer. And God bless me. That's not what I did, thank the Lord, but that's what I was thinking. So that's all to say, don't necessarily trust your own thinking. Your mind's going to play tricks on you, especially when you're in this chaotic state. So, what did I do to get out of it? First, I went and got a massage. I got a 90-minute massage. I just went to this Levita massage place and like a franchise, and I was like, I need a massage like now, because I had to get my brain out of this, funk. I had to get it into a different state of mind, literally. So that helped a lot. Then I spoke with a friend of mine who kind of level set me. And she was saying at the time, don't you have a line of credit? And I said, yes, but to me, that was a terror barrier, and I could never put myself into debt even for a short amount of time, because that meant that I was a failure, and I was very ashamed of that. But she level set me. She said, listen, do you consider me to be a successful entrepreneur? And I said, yeah, absolutely. Duh. And then she said, okay, did you know that I have a line of credit, and currently I'm like $100,000 into it, and I'm going to pay it off in 2 weeks, and then I'm assuming in the next few months I'm going to use it again. And my mind was just blown, because to me that was unimaginable, but to her that was norm. That was normalized. That was a normal everyday thing for her and her firm. That community, it takes a village, my dear friend was able to help me through that and open up my mind to different ways of seeing things. So it didn't help me any longer to be ashamed of having a line of credit and much less using it from time to time. And then there's the cash flow element, and there's probably this for you too, if it's a cash, freak out crisis. Yeah, you can look at expenses. Expenses are important. I wouldn't look at expenses as the main source of like your fix to the problem, because you don't want to cut expenses too much, like marketing looks like an important expense, or legal, or like your accountant or something like that. But if you cut those expenses for very long, you're gonna like utterly kill your business, okay? And that might be the goal of your subconscious, which like me, earlier, like my subconscious wanted me to, go work for somebody else and shut the firm down, right? So just be careful. Don't let your subconscious play tricks on you. So I did this procedure, which I would highly recommend. Imagine, and it's going to be hard at first, but imagine a world in which this problem has solved itself, whatever it is. And you might be thinking, but it's impossible to solve. This is worse than it's ever been. I could never, that's all bullshit. Just throw it out. That's your subconscious. Like, nobody cares. Take another deep breath, right? And then just think, if I did get through this, what would that look like? If I did get through this, what could it look like? And that tricks your brain into thinking creatively, even though it was just seconds before in a state of total fear. When you're in a state of total fear, your brain shuts down, right? Your adrenaline starts pumping, you feel anxious, and on and on. When you're in a creative state, you have to be relaxed. And your brain, relaxes in order to do that, So you can look at it objectively as if it's a big strategy game, Imagine that it's not even your business, it's just a friend's, or even better, someone that it's just something on a piece of paper that you're looking at for like a quiz or something in college, I don't know, something simple, but remove yourself from it. If you can remove yourself from it, you remove the shame. And if you don't have shame about something, then you can look at it rationally, you can see it objectively and understand the opportunities. I guarantee that there are amazing opportunities wrapped inside this envelope of problems and chaos. I don't remember the quote exactly, but some of the ancient Greeks, and this is also in the Bible, and this is a deep part of human wisdom that we've acquired over many millennia. But basically it says, where you are least willing to look is where you find your greatest treasure. So what you want and desire the most is that which you're the most afraid of, and that which is the most deeply hidden. Okay, so it makes sense that on the road to your success, which you deeply desire, and you've envisioned, you've seen it specifically with specificity, like we talk about all the time, on your road towards that goal, things are going to make you lose your shit. And that losing your shit is only your growth. So this is an opportunity for a growth spurt. I don't know what the opportunity is, but it will be somewhere in your subconscious, somewhere in your, when you think to yourself, if I did solve this, what would that look like? What might be some ways that I could solve this if I did solve this? You're going to say, I couldn't possibly solve this. And you say, yeah, but what if I did? Well, I'm too fearful. Yeah, but what if I wasn't? Well, I'm too dumb. Well, but what if I was a genius? And so just what if your way out of the negative self-talk and criticism and shame, and look at it as if it's somebody else's, company or situation or family or whatever, and then just think about it. I guarantee that after a while of doing that, you will come up with some opportunities that are like cool as shit. And you'd be like, wow, that's really interesting. I've always been kind of interested in trying this thing. Maybe trying this thing that I've been wanting to do for 3 years is the solution. And not only that, if I try this thing that I've been kind of putting on the back burner for so long, that gets me out of this problem, by doing that, I could actually be better off than before this chaotic thing came about, before chaos happened. Right? So think about it that way. That's so often what happens. Chaos happens. You have your little freak out dance. You get, you do the pee-pee dance, like we would say with our kids, right? You go nuts. You get nervous. You get anxious. Then you put yourself into this normal pattern, this predictable, safe situation that, puts your mind naturally, by default, in a nicer, more relaxed state. Might take you a couple days. And then you just ask yourself, how could I possibly get through this if I did? What's a possible solution? And those solutions, I guarantee, are going to be opportunities that you would have never considered before, were it not for this total chaotic thing that you used to just absolutely hate and be fearful of. So isn't that interesting? So chaos entering our lives, this is how it actually works. And this is why it's not bullshit when these, spiritual gurus are all like, happy about chaos, because it puts you in a mindset where you allow yourself to consider things that you would never otherwise consider. So for me, in that example, I would have never allowed myself to, leverage the business, or take on any debt, even for a few days. That was inadmissible, that was unexcusable, that was shameful, that was all of these things, So with that, how could I ever acquire another law firm, for example? Unless I saved up, $1 million or whatever it is that I'm going to buy it for, which wouldn't happen, right? So, that allowed me to learn what cash flow was and how the hell it worked, and, how to utilize some debt, here and there to, grow the shit out of my firm, right? And when I did that, I had a growth spurt. My firm had a growth spurt, and so did I, spiritually, intellectually, with my mindset. So problems come up because you are evolving, you are doing a better job, and your old patterns and ways of being no longer work. So the problem arises slowly or quickly, and then you are forced to think up a better plan. And part of that better plan is to do something that you never would have considered doing before. Or you might have felt bad about it, or thought it was wrong, or not okay, or like you're not good enough to do something like that, whatever it is. But isn't that cool? Because it offers you this option to really grow quickly, as long as you don't give up. So let's just kind of recap, okay? When chaos happens, when you are in crisis mode, rather than hiding and shriveling up into a corner, which you may want to do, you make your world very safe. and predictable, so that this chaotic element is only like, 5-10% of your daily, rituals and grind. Okay? So you simplify. Okay? Don't just remove all the chaos from your life that you can. Remove anything that's unpredictable, except for this element, of course, because that's going to teach you, and we'll talk about that later. So, get your nighttime ritual together. Get your daily, grind together. Decide exactly how long you're going to work and focus on these things, and then, cap it, put an envelope around it so that you don't obsess over it, okay? Do things, be with your family or people that really help you, close friends. Sometimes family can make it worse, but oftentimes they can make it better. So just, you be the judge of that. I like to meditate and read before bed, turn off the screens, turn off the notifications. There's nothing you need to do really, other than, take good care of yourself now so that you can trick your mind into a better mindset. Once you've done that for a little while, maybe gotten a massage or do something, that relaxes you, then you start to also trick your mind by thinking of ways that you might solve this problem, and, ways that it actually might, solutions that you would have not considered earlier, or you didn't think it was time to do those things, whatever it is. And that will trick your mind into being creative, being a creator, rather than a fearful, sort of victim mindset business person, okay? And that's usually how you level up. So chaos means that you're probably about to level up in a big way, and it's really fucking cool like that, okay? So when chaos happens, and I don't want to say that I always have this reaction initially, but eventually I can see that chaos was a wonderful way for me to level up and grow. So that's the solution to crisis mode, or whatever it is. You actually get safer and more relaxed and more of a business badass when chaos happens, and know that in the near future, if you handle this correctly, the way that, God or the divine or what have you intended, then, you'll be well on your way to your own success. So don't be afraid. I know it's, it's a fearful thing, but it's actually a great thing whenever chaos happens. You will get through this, and you'll be better for it. All right, that's all we got time for this week. I'm Jonathan Sparks. Feel free to check out our business coaching services or legal business legal services at sparkslawpractice.com. I am coming out with a new single called Marry Me to the World here very soon. You can check out our music on Spotify and Apple iTunes and everything under Jonathan Sparks, or jonathansparksmusic.com. Keep rock and rolling, guys. We'll talk next week. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want to hear more, check us out on jonathansparksmusic.com, JONATHAN sparksmusic.com. Please like and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We love you guys. We'll talk soon.